Picture a queen, resplendent in shimmering silk, her gown a cascade of velvet and lace, gliding through the opulent halls of a grand palace. Every step she takes is observed, every word she utters carefully weighed, her presence a meticulously rehearsed performance of grace and authority. Yet beneath this polished exterior lies a hidden reality, one never captured in the gilded frames of royal portraits. Each month she navigates not merely a natural bodily rhythm but a complex political minefield. Her menstrual cycle, far from being a private matter, is public knowledge, recorded, analyzed, reported, and scrutinized. In an era where dynasties rose and fell on the promise of heirs, a queen's most intimate experiences were transformed into instruments of diplomacy, power, and control. Today we uncover the astonishing, often overlooked truth of how royal women in the 1600s and beyond managed their periods, a story of queens, courtiers, and a reality shrouded in silence, shaped by the weight of politics, fashion, and perilous medical practices. A body beyond her own, the political weight of menstruation. In the royal households of the 17th and 18th centuries, a woman's body was never truly her own. It was a vessel tied to the fate of entire dynasties, her health and fertility scrutinized as matters of state. A queen's menstrual cycle was not a private affair but a public spectacle, its details meticulously documented and disseminated. Palace physicians, tasked with monitoring her health, relayed updates on her cycles in coded letters to monarchs, nobles, and foreign diplomats. The arrival or absence of menstruation could signal hope or failure, a potential pregnancy or a devastating miscarriage. A delay in a queen's cycle sent ripples of anxiety through the court, prompting urgent questions. Was she pregnant? Had she miscarried? Was there a medical issue? These were not personal concerns confined to the queen's chambers. They were state affairs, debated in council rooms and chronicled in official records. In some instances, the rhythm of a queen's cycle dictated the timing of significant political events. Royal marriages, treaties, and even coronations could hinge on the regularity of her menstruation, as it signaled her fertility and, by extension, the stability of the dynasty. Entire councils were informed of these developments through carefully worded, coded documents drafted by physicians and vetted by court officials. For example, in the courts of France and Spain, physicians' reports were often shared with ambassadors to assure allies of a queen's potential to produce an heir. This relentless surveillance stripped away any semblance of bodily autonomy. A queen's biology was no longer her own. It had been nationalized, her cycle a matter of international consequence. The fortress of fashion, navigating menstruation in royal garments. Managing menstruation in this era was a logistical challenge, compounded by the elaborate fashions of the time. Royal dresses were not mere garments. They were architectural marvels designed to project power and wealth. These gowns, often weighing as much as a small child, were constructed with layers of petticoats, hoops, stays, panniers, and corsets, all meticulously arranged to achieve the idealized silhouette of the era. Such attire was neither practical nor forgiving for a woman experiencing her period. The sheer weight and complexity of these outfits made even basic movements cumbersome, let alone the discreet management of menstrual flow. The cloth pads used at the time were rudimentary, fashioned from cotton, linen, or occasionally imported silks, and secured with belts or ribbons. These pads were worn tightly beneath corsets and voluminous undergarments, requiring partial or full undressing to change, a task impossible without the aid of trusted attendants. This process had to be repeated multiple times a day, often during lengthy court ceremonies, banquets, or diplomatic receptions, where slipping away unnoticed was nearly impossible. A leak was not just an inconvenience, it was a potential scandal. Staining a cushion, a royal chair, or worst of all, a gown could ignite gossip, fuel speculation about a miscarriage, or undermine the queen's carefully curated image of perfection. Yet despite these challenges, royal women were expected to remain poised, attending court, dancing at banquets, and greeting dignitaries while silently managing a situation no one dared acknowledge publicly. The silent guardians, the role of ladies-in-waiting. Queens and princesses did not face these challenges alone. They were surrounded by a carefully chosen circle of women known as ladies-in-waiting, whose roles extended far beyond companionship or ceremonial duties. These women, often of noble birth and bound by loyalty, class, and sometimes family ties, were entrusted with the queen's most intimate needs, including the management of her menstrual cycle. Their tasks were as delicate as they were critical, changing linens, discreetly disposing of or washing stained cloths, assisting with wardrobe adjustments, and monitoring the queen's comfort and health. The political sensitivity of a queen's menstrual status meant that only women of high rank could be trusted with such responsibilities. A careless word or a leaked detail could spark rumors, destabilize alliances, or empower rival factions. These ladies-in-waiting were more than confidants. They were gatekeepers of secrets that could alter the course of nations. They kept meticulous records, relayed vital information to court physicians, and often knew more about the queen's health than anyone else in the palace. Their work was essential, yet it demanded invisibility, a silent, flawless execution of duties that left no trace in the public eye. In this way, they became the unsung guardians of the queen's private reality, bearing the weight of secrets that could shift the balance of power. The ritual of the cloth, symbolism and scrutiny. The cloths used for menstruation were far from ordinary, often custom-made from fine cotton, delicate linen, or luxurious imported silks. Some were even embroidered or adorned with intricate trims, reflecting the queen's status. These cloths were not discarded after use, not only because of their material value but because of their symbolic significance. Stained cloths were subjected to a rigorous process of examination and cleaning, steeped in ritual and scrutiny. They were first inspected by physicians or attendants, who believed the blood could reveal signs of illness, imbalance, or even poisoning. Some claimed to detect toxins by the blood's color or odor. The cleaning process itself was a meticulous ordeal. Cloths were soaked in cold water, often infused with salt, vinegar, or wine to dissolve the blood, then scrubbed by hand with soaps made from animal fat and lye. This labor was performed by skilled attendants or laundresses, always under the watchful eyes of court officials or physicians. In some courts, the water used for soaking was analyzed, as it was believed to hold clues to the queen's health. The entire process could take days, with cloths carefully dried and pressed before being returned for reuse. To the servants, this was a routine chore. To those in power, it was a cycle of medical and political interpretation, where every detail carried weight. Invasive examinations and dangerous remedies. The scrutiny of royal women extended beyond their cloths to their bodies. When cycles became irregular or ceased, queens were subjected to regular physical examinations that were neither gentle nor private. Physicians, often male, inspected the cloths before conducting invasive internal assessments, performed without modern tools or proper hygiene. These procedures could cause significant discomfort, with some women reporting infections or pain that lingered for days. Yet, such examinations were deemed essential, as fertility was the cornerstone of a queen's value. If a queen showed no signs of pregnancy, the court demanded answers immediately. Queen Catherine of Braganza, the Portuguese wife of England's Charles II, endured years of such relentless scrutiny. Each month, without an heir, intensified the pressure, with treatments growing increasingly invasive. Physicians turned to remedies that, while intended to restore regular cycles, often caused more harm than good. Mercury, a common ingredient in fertility tonics, was believed to stimulate the womb and cleanse the body. In reality, it poisoned the nervous system and organs, with symptoms like tremors, mood swings, and fatigue misdiagnosed as womanly hysteria. Lead powders, used to mask bodily odors, including those associated with menstruation, were applied to the face and undergarments, accumulating in the body and damaging reproductive and mental health. Bloodletting, another common practice, involved drawing additional blood from the arms or legs, even during menstruation, to balance the body. Performed with crude instruments, these procedures left women weak, pale, and susceptible to infection. The tragic case of Princess Charlotte of Wales illustrates the devastating consequences of these practices. Young, beloved, and under immense pressure to produce an heir, she endured years of such treatments. Her death in 1817, at the age of 21, is often attributed in part to the cumulative toll of these misguided medical interventions, which weakened her body and spirit. The facade of perfection, composure under pressure. Despite the physical and emotional toll, royal women were expected to maintain an impeccable facade. Court life allowed no room for weakness. Even while managing pain, fatigue, or the constant risk of bleeding through costly fabrics, a queen had to exude charm, grace, and composure. There were no sick days, no reprieve from balls, portrait sittings, or ceremonial duties. Corsets were laced tightly, gowns arranged flawlessly, and appearances kept immaculate, regardless of the discomfort. Behind the scenes, ladies-in-waiting orchestrated discreet adjustments, quick wardrobe changes, subtle freshen-ups or quiet hand signals to indicate distress. But in public, no one could know the truth. The emotional burden of this silence was profound. In private letters, many royal women expressed feelings of entrapment not only by the expectations of their role but by the need to pretend nothing was amiss. Duchess Elizabeth Charlotte of Orléans, known for her candid writings, described the exhaustion of being treated as a vessel for reproduction, subjected to examinations without consent, and expected to smile through it all. Her words reveal a woman caught in a system that valued her body over her humanity, her fertility over her well-being. A legacy of quiet strength. The history of royal women is often framed by their opulence, their jewels, gowns, and palaces, but the reality of their daily lives tells a far more complex story. Beneath every jeweled crown was a woman navigating a world that reduced her value to her ability to produce heirs. Her menstrual cycle, a natural and universal experience, was transformed into a political event, tracked, managed, and weaponized. She could not speak openly about it, pause her duties, or control how it was interpreted. Yet she endured, carrying the weight of both a crown and a system that made her biology a matter of state. The next time you gaze upon a portrait of a queen, adorned in silk and lace, consider the woman beneath the finery. She was not just a symbol of power, but a person of extraordinary resilience, navigating unimaginable pressures with quiet strength. Her story, hidden behind the grandeur, reminds us of the human cost of royalty, a cost paid in silence, sacrifice, and unyielding grace.